Well, when people talk about resting in awareness as being effortless, what they're describing is the absence of the self. So, obviously, if there's no self, there's no effort, period. It just is the way it is. It's just one way to describe it. There's a lot of ways to describe it. That's one way to describe it. Again, when we talk about someone engaged in mindfulness practices or meditation practices that develop concentration or a kind of even a kind of spacious awareness, I think the question is, will those help in ultimately resting as awareness? You know, I love what Aiken Roshi said to me years ago, that when he referred to, zazen or meditation, he said, enlightenment is an accident, but zazen or meditation makes you accident prone. And I would say, maybe. I don't know. I think that there, even with very traditional non-dual teachers that I was close to, they gave instruction quite clearly. Robert Adams or Papaji, they were very clear about being profoundly still, which is basically something that is learned in meditation practice, in really excellent meditation practice and training, where you become so profoundly still that you're effortless, that no one is being still. And those are moments when awakening can happen. So I think that I wouldn't say that there's any guarantee by any means. Because clearly people can become much more contracted doing practices and get more identified with being a practitioner. So, but I do think that there's a place for, and who knows, even benefit. Like we were saying earlier, when this is so interesting to talk about this. I need more time, but I think that it's just so much more it's just so much more involved than a simple answer can really honor this sort of a question. This is like an hour talk, easily, but it goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is that I think many people really could benefit from doing yoga or doing a meditation practice or learning to be still without being tense. Because ultimately when one begins to access awareness, it can be overwhelming and transformative. So one wants to have a certain degree of mastery, if you will, in the body. And what I mean by that is not control, not mastery in the sense of being in control, but really, literally being completely out of the way. Because what really facilitates awakening and transformation is 100% being out of the way. Good, well-trained practices and learned practices, really, that's their purpose. Their purpose is to get out of the way, is to really drop body and mind. That's the purpose. But clearly, and I think probably what they don't say in those teachings, what was probably true, was to have a realized teacher who was sitting in the zendo with you, or in the meditation hall, or wherever it was. Because in that moment when getting out of the way happens, transmission is right there. It's instant. It's already there. So when that moment of dropping self happens, there is an instant knowing of the true nature. Now that can happen without a teacher, but to have somebody with a strong resonant field, that clarity of presence, which we all are, it can help. It might even, and I think it probably facilitates it. I don't know how, but don't ask me how, but I think it does.